Thank you for tuning in to Androna Talks Radio, gathering as one in our sovereign truth from a galactic perspective, exploring our world with new ideas, knowledge, and a promise of a better future. Galactic discussions for galactic-minded people. Androna Talks.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. We're going to have an update regarding the yellow vests over in France, and this situation has not diminished in any way, shape or form, and it continues on. So I decided to bring Chris on again to give us a current update about what is happening. And while he was preparing to do that, he sent me over some videos. Oh my gosh, that is violent. That is very violent over there. And there's a lot to consider about what's happening. It could happen anywhere, but we're looking at a very, very serious situation. So without any further delay, I'd like to welcome in Chris.
Hi Jessica, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well, but a little stunned by some of the video footage that you sent me. Now all of these videos we're going to have posted underneath our video and before the comments section. It's shocking. Chris, what in the world is going on over there?
Yeah, it is definitely shocking, and what's most shocking for me is that the media in France are absolutely not showing anything. If you listen to the media, they pretty much portray the yellow vest as extremely violent, fascist Nazis, extreme right wing.
Hold on, they're calling the people Nazis?
Yeah, because
is this calling the kettle black, or what are we doing here?
That's the new playbook now, you know. If you do not agree with a government that's raping you silently, because that's a real violence that 99% of the French people talk about. The real violence is coming from the government. It is a silent violence through taxes, through different ways, the different laws they put in place. And they realize, wait a minute, we voted every 5 years for someone that's supposed to represent us because we voted for some people, and all they do when they're in place is to work against us because they're just minions of the EU and the EU minions of the UN and so on. So they realize that all these years since 1968 and the French, the student revolution in 68, that's pretty much where everything started. Since the last president, the president at the time was President de Gaulle, which was a war hero that fought against, I would say, the Nazis and all that. So they kicked him out, and then they start to create the Fifth Republic, and then have their minions in place. And it took a while for them to get to this point, of course. But now, really, the playbook is the same everywhere, in every media, everywhere in Europe. As protesters or yellow vests are, violent. They want to destroy the government. They call them teethless people, dumb idiots. Teethless, yeah. They call the French people the yellow vests, the teethless people. They have no education. They are labor people because they are not clever enough to be in charge, and things like that. So they never ever mention the police brutality, and through the police brutality, really what it is the government brutality, because these guys take orders. Okay, they're orders takers. So the orders come from both. And in France, the police are managed by some people called préfet police, which are pretty much the heads of the police per department, you would say, like per county or state. And these guys receive orders directly from the president. That's how it works. So the fact that they're violent is that they receive orders to get violent. Now, they could maybe handle these protests in a different way. Everybody knows that. It's so violent that even Amnesty International right now is raising the red flag, saying, hey, wait a minute, this is not supposed to happen like this. You guys supposedly have to react proportionate to the situation, and the situation is not proportionate at all. Your reaction is completely out of scale. So it's almost like everything is done for peaceful protester in the beginning to get upset and to get angry. And here is an example. They did everything by the book in the beginning. Not in the first one, they really went in the street and they didn't expect what was going on. People were very, very upset. But they were not upset violently. They were upset by marching peacefully. And the police starting to infiltrate these yellow vests with some of their guys, as we showed that in the other reports. And those police that were infiltrating yellow vests, what they did really, they start to break things, pretty much to portray the yellow vest as violent people. So the violence didn't start with the yellow vest for a start. There were some maybe, group, like very small amount of activists, I would say, from right and left in there, but very, very small. 99% of the people there were just mothers, fathers, regular people. So that's how they start to turn pretty much the image of the yellow vest into violent people, and from there just build up. So they needed to be very repressive against the yellow vest and stop that movement. The only way for them to do it was to be violent. They couldn't just be violent like that. So they had to create a situation that would pretty much legitimize their answer, which is that violence we see every day, every time there is a protest. See what I mean? So they created that situation by infiltrating the yellow vest with these police guys, and there is a few videos showing that, creating, breaking windows and do all kind of things. And after that, the next step was to use the media to do their job and literally portray the yellow vest as very violent. And because they were very violent, well, they had to bring way more police and be way more aggressive. So the yellow vests start to do things the proper way by going to the city hall and say, hey guys, we're going to do a protest. We're going to start that time at that place. And this is, the parkour we're going to have. And we're going to stop at that place at that time. Well, they've quickly realized that that was not happening like it was supposed to, because the French police was blocking them from going where they were supposed to go, telling them that they were not allowed to reach the point they were all supposed to reach. So they started tearing gas them, using rubber bullets, and start wounding people. So, it's like if you take just an animal and put him in a cage and start to beat the crap out of him, well, guess what? There is a point it will react to protect himself. And all this is, the strategy behind this is so obvious that now French people are aware of it. So they try different ways, and most of the time they say we're not violent. We just want Macron to listen to us. But he's very silent. He never talk. When he does is, he talk. I think after 1 month, finally, he took the microphone and did a speech to the nation, but never mentioned the yellow vest. Never mentioned all the wounded people and the dead people. There are like 11 dead people right now. More than 5,000 arrests. More than 2,000 wounded and seriously wounded. Eyes missing, hands missing, organs completely destroyed because of the rubber bullets. They shoot the head. They don't shoot like the lower parts of the body. There are videos of officers of the police saying, hey, target the head. Why would you do that? So all this is disproportionate.
It's startling human rights violations. Clearly, there are some serious issues. So they're sending out scripted statements for all the other nations in the EU to tell the people. They don't want people to know actually what's going on. And in this day and age, you can't hide when there are infractions upon humanity. There's enough technology out there. Fortunately, we have something good to say about technology, is that people can find out what's going on. But there is, you told us about a video where, and we actually get to see that video, where there's a journalist actually supposed to be able to videotape some footage, and he was being threatened by the police. He had this camera down, and you could hear it. He was still running, but you could hear him yelling at him. But this was after an incident where there was a couple in Burger King, and they were getting beat up violently by the police.
Yeah, that's one of these days. Most of the time during the day it's violent, but in the evening they really want the people to go back home, so they go full force. So they were using so much tear gas, and that tear gas is considered as chemical weapon, by the way, banned in most of the places in France. These people were trying to find a place where they could breathe and finally recover. So they went in a Burger King, and the police saw that. They went in and they start to beat the crap of these poor people on the floor. And you could see, I mean, I don't even know the word in English to explain what's happening there. It's beyond words. So there was a reporter, a journalist there. Now in France, they always say, well, only real journalists are allowed to be in the street and record the events. But in this case, of course, they were very embarrassed that everything was recorded. So that you can see in that video very clearly that the police officer being extremely violent and rude to that guy, and it was ready to beat him up.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was going to take the camera or destroy the camera.
Yeah. Now, that's what they're doing. If anyone record with their, everybody has a cell phone now, and they understood now that the best way to record things is live, meaning they use these Facebook Live or Instagram. I'm not, a specialist of that, but obviously Facebook Live, because if they don't do it, then if ever they record an event of violence by the police will grab that guy, beat the crap out of him, and then erase the video.
Right.
So now they found a way to record everything live, so that cannot be erased. But yeah, I mean, it is reaching a point where they know they're going beyond red flag here. So they don't know how to control that right now.
This is like a dictatorship.
Oh, I mean, if you know a little bit history of what happened in the 30s in Germany, that's exactly how things happened. I mean, maybe here in America, most of the people don't have the knowledge of what's happened to, what happened in Europe.
Yeah, but there were plenty of protests over here, and like Kent State, students got shot at, and it just amps up to some really crazy extreme behaviors, because everyone's getting triggered by this push and pull over who's going to obey, and it's people need to have a peaceful protest in order to express their views. I mean, there has to be a place where they have a right to say whatever they need to say. You're not going to destroy your own people. I mean, it's just, you just can't do that, and you can't recover from anything like this. It's probably the worst disgrace possible, and it's a horrible thing to see.
And what maybe here in the U.S. people don't know, but the human rights chart has been signed in Paris, by the way. So supposedly that's the capital of human rights and freedom.
Well, I mean,
it's the
irony of all of it.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So, but what's the catch here is that it almost seems like even if the government seems to be supposedly losing control and all that, they kind of like, it's following pretty much an agenda. They want pretty much that to go so bad so they can declare martial law, which, by the way, they did a day ago.
Okay, so they were allowed to protest, and then they had to take off masks, and then they've been gradually taking more and more rights away. And now they're getting to a point where it is illegal to protest. Is that correct?
It's illegal to protest. They said, well, you have the right to, of course, express your opinion. You can protest, but you have to ask the city hall for the protest to be allowed, to have a permit to protest.
So you get away for maybe another 25 years to get permission to go out and protest.
So there are videos when you have people calling, the rights office in the police and say, hey, we would like to have, a permit to protest. And then you see them saying, okay, hold on, please, 1 minute. And then they transfer that to one person, then to another person, then to another person. And after like 30 minutes, and they hang up. So it's very hard to do it the right way. And now, so this is the thing, and I was talking with you guys earlier, and you mentioned that as well. So now if you want to protest, you have to ask. If you want to protest against the government, you ask the government a permission to protest against the government, which of course they will not give you because they don't want you to protest against them. So they voted a law now that that every protest that is not registered truly and legally, it's automatically a unlawful protest. Therefore, they can arrest anyone that's in there as their will. And then they will send them to the police station and create a file, pretty much like terrorist files, where you will pretty much get, a record on your file forever that you are a violent, pretty much extremist. There are even videos when some guys came out of the police station and they said, well, they were asking me my name, this, that, and then they were asking me some blood. So they can have a DNA record of me. Mm-hmm. And they told him, if you don't do it, you will go 1 year in jail. But if you do it, we're going to let you go.
What? Why couldn't they do a fingerprint? What are they going to do with that blood? That's creepy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this
really? But,
yep.
Well, maybe it's just a bunch of vampires over there running the government.
And
but since when do they ask for blood? That's pretty bizarre. That's very bizarre.
Yeah. So there is
maybe they need them for the cloning center, or what are they doing?
That's possible. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, we could just have you replaced. Everybody goes back to your home. You're all the Stepford children of the world. What in the world is going on over there?
So nobody wanted to believe how a police state it became. So one of it's not a leader, it's someone that's really a little bit more visible, I would say, on Facebook. His name is Eric Drouet. And they arrested him all the time. There was pretty much like 2 weeks ago, he was in the middle of Paris, was like surrounded by thousands of people. And the police knew where he was pretty much in the protest, in the whole group. So they start to close one street behind them, a street in front of them, and slowly they were closing on him. And they finally surrounded a group of 100 people. And they start to beat the crap out of them until they could catch him. And then they went in his van, and the guy is a truck driver. So truck drivers sometimes need to protect themselves too at night, right? When they drive, thousands of miles. So he had a little stick of 1 foot, wood stick. So they told the judge that it was a weapon, extremely dangerous. He was armed. It was not even on him. It was in the truck that was like miles away. And they tried to arrest him for that. So he had a lawyer, and the lawyer, finally freed him. So he said, well, French people, I want to show you something where we're at right now. If they are saying that we are free to walk in the street and free to, just do our daily business, I will show it's not true if you are recorded as a yellow vest. So one day they decided, like a week ago, that they wanted, 20 people together and walk together on a very big avenue in France, no yellow vest, no nothing, with a candle, and they wanted to bring the candle to a specific place in memory of the wounded and the dead people. It was a peaceful, march, I would say. It wasn't even a march, it was just a group of few friends. So they did it, and when they were on their way back...
Memorial. Like a memorial ceremony. So now they don't even allow people to honor their dead. Isn't that interesting?
So when they were walking on the sidewalk, and there were 15, 20 people, they took a little street, and in that little street, who was waiting for them? Well, because they were going to a restaurant to just, enjoy a good dinner. French people like to eat well. And they stopped him, and they stopped, the whole group, and they started, 300 policemen, obviously, and I don't know how many police cars, it was insane, just to arrest that guy, because they said it's an unlawful protest. It was like, it's not a protest. We were marching, no yellow vests, we're just people going to a restaurant. What are you talking about? And it just wanted to show his point. So they released him. They kept him 24 hours in there, and then they finally released him. And he says, see, guys, I just wanted to show you the truth here. So, of course, that's very embarrassing for the government. So now they have to call him, of course, that he is extremely violent, he's provoking, is, enticing people to become violent. And it's not the case at all. So they really distort the truth about everything. So it doesn't matter what they do or don't do. It's almost like for the media, which is, by the way, the propaganda army used by the government, receiving script, same as here in this country. It's pretty much everywhere the same blueprint. And it almost seems like it's the, Soros. Sorry, but truth is the truth. I know it's just a peon, but it's pretty much the Soros agenda. It's very clear. They're called, liberals, but what they really do is they pretty much use the same playbook that was used 70 years ago in Germany. What we were talking about in the first report, which is called National Socialism, which has nothing to do with socialism. National Socialism is the real name of what Hitler was, of his party. In the 40s, and Mussolini and all that. So they are complaining, and they're literally portraying the yellow vest as fascist, when at the end of the day, it's just a reflection. It's the same thing, the same game they play. They project their own crap on the others.
They're playing word games and switching roles in accusation. They're accusing before they get accused, and reflecting everything that they're doing on the people who are, have a just cause, and they're altering the whole intention and then justifying their aggression toward them in the process. I mean, everything's upside down and backwards. Now, Peter, the insider, told us that, we have not only a Third Reich, but a Fourth Reich and a Fifth Reich that is present. Could be that the influences are there, but it is not coming from the French people. The issue in France is, and the truth, is the influence of Dionysus. Dionysus can't play, then he's going to make sure everyone else suffers. And that's not going to be the case. It just doesn't work that way. The rise of Napoleon is going to be the same fall of Napoleon. Either way, they're not going to be able to sustain that type of energy. It doesn't work. They will never get world dominance. With that, Dionysus will never rule the planet, and he will not rule it through Napoleon or Macron or anyone else. It's just not going to work. This paradigm has already failed, so it's too late. So for those of you that don't listen and don't hear much about what I talk about, the gods are alive and well, and they're still playing their games and manipulating. And we also have other factions, corporations and so forth. They have their agenda. And someone told me, I said, why is it that we have to go through this? Why is it that they keep on trying to play out an apocalypse? You know what they said to me? Because it's written in the scriptures. And I said, what does that mean? In whose scriptures? You know, who said that we have to go through this? And why are we experiencing this right now? Because all the governments want to fulfill what they're using in manipulating their interpretation of a book that's supposed to be a book of love. But this doesn't look like love to me. So I don't really know. You can take anything and distort it, but ultimately the intention is domination, bringing people to a point of, you know, calling them toothless people. How degrading. What gives anyone the right to say that about impoverished people that work very hard and have, you know, done, you know, earned everything from the sweat of their brow? At least it's honest. Unlike all of these other things that are done without integrity. And so you have everything's upside down. It's not making any sense. And so if the agenda is that the people, the average middle class or lower class people, are going to be delegated to nothing but a number, you know, just ridiculous. We're not agreeing with it. And so I applaud the people of France who are standing up for themselves, because they know if they don't, they get nothing. They're going to lose everything, and they'll probably have worse things happen. And when you're in that situation, you're backed against the wall and you don't have a choice. Now,
sorry.
Well, I was going to say is what's interesting is that two of the videos that you sent were amazing. Two gentlemen from the UK that were you know, strong advocates, because the people of France can't even defend themselves. I mean, they can't even speak out. They don't even have a place where they can respond to what's going on. They're literally going through, it looks like a war there. And something else that they pointed out is that it looks like one of those apocalyptic war games. Call of Duty. I think they showed a picture of Call of Duty and compared to what the city looks like. Here again, using soft disclosure of these video games, they're showing us what they plan on doing. And so they know they're futurists. They travel into time. They know what's going on. They're trying to play it out. And here we are, sitting here helplessly watching, while this nation and these people aren't even allowed a voice in a place where they were supposed to have humane conditions. And here's the two British men who are kind enough to try to educate people about what's going on. And this gentleman by the name of George Galloway, who says, if you allow the people to just protest peacefully, at least let them feel like they have a voice. You can resolve whatever the problem is. If you don't, it becomes worse. Why is it that everyone else in the world knows this? Do they think that they can hide and that no one else is going to see it? I don't understand. How foolish. You know, and this is the illusions that they've been putting around everyone. If we don't mention the yellow vest in my speech, you know, if Macron thinks if he does a speech and he doesn't mention it, it's like the emperor doesn't have any clothes on. It's like he can fool everyone. You can't. People will notice. And this gentleman, was it Joseph Watson, who's the independent journalist? He did a fantastic job. I'm sorry, Chris, go on. I was just on a rave.
No. This is great. It's fantastic. Yeah, they did a fantastic job, because the first one, Joseph Watson, is an independent journalist. That's very brave, because he's talking about a lot of things that most of the journalists are not daring to talk about. But that video is pretty much, self-explanatory, because it really explained the whole situation in France. Now, What people don't understand about French people, they are known to raise their voice if they're not happy. Okay, we know they were doing strikes for the last 10 years every week, and they're not easy to satisfy. But nevertheless, they realize now that even if they were, having all these strikes, they were fighting a system that were putting them asleep slowly with fake promises and this and that. And now it is it. They pretty much said enough is enough. So at this point, the French government knows that that is not a movement they will be able to stop. And pretty much it's like the fire is lit and is not true. And although they do really is to put more oil on the fire, in the government by, these violence and all that. Now, you said something about Dionysus, and you're absolutely right. The whole, you can go after Macron. Macron is definitely, we know, is connected to Dionysus. He's a puppet.
He's a puppet. He's a hollow body that Dionysus is using. No
I call
soul.
him peon. He's a peon, like you have, Merkel and all these guys. They think they have power, but
Empty,
they're just
vacant.
empty vessel used pretty much by, higher psychopaths, megalomaniac, wannabe God. All right. So above that, you have some puppets that are controlling the peons. And now we have Soros and all these beers, Rothschild and all that. Above that, you have the puppeteer. Now, these puppeteers can be, of course, different beings working under the thumb of Dionysus. And then you have the real master puppeteer. These are all these megalomaniacs like Dionysus, Michael. Sorry, folks, some of you might not agree with me, but I can only say the truth of what I've experienced myself. And I guess Jess can attest that. And then, of course, we have a whole bunch of others, wannabe gods, wannabe, rulers, and they only have. It doesn't matter what the message they might express through the different belief systems and how some religion sees some of these beings or scripture. It doesn't matter what it is. The message is always a lie. They have absolutely zero interest in giving the power and sovereignty to the humans. All they want is power, control, and dominion. That's it. So, this battle
it's the
can
same.
be won.
It's the same regime. It's Dionysus tried to move through Napoleon. He's moved through others. He is moving through Macron, and you know what the incentive is? He wants to party. That's it. The earth is a playground for some of these beings. That's all they care about. And if you ruin their fun, this is what they do. And if they need more money to do the stuff that they want to do, then they don't care who they take from. They don't care at all.
And when you go after them, or after their controlled systems, now they play victim. They're pretty much offended of how dare you destroy my little empire here. It's like, come on, are you joking? This is an irony right here.
Well, Macron's wife is upset that she can't go shopping. And this is how distant they are from reality.
Well, it's the same in 1789, when they had the French Revolution with King Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette, which we know, by the way, were also connected to all these, were also peons or puppets, whatever you want to call it, from these fake gods, as I call them.
Yeah.
It's almost like the same entities, the same beings, dark beings, playing through different bodies throughout time.
Right, but people don't realize it's not just money. Just having money does not give power. Power is given by other powers. You can't do the type of stuff that they're doing without assistance. And so it's just like the whole thing with the corporations. There has to be a power, like Paul Serene. He's not human. Paul Serene and Monarch. And the ones from Mobius, these are enhanced beings. They have abilities like you can't imagine. They can move in between dimensions. They can time travel. They can do all sorts of things and there they are, playing the game and manipulating the empty vessels, the vacant souls, because of all the deals that they made with darkness to be able to gain power, and so they accommodate them. And here we have it, perfect example. And what's interesting is because there's Versailles, there's the open portal, Dionysus playing the game and running the gamut and calling himself Apollo. But he's Apollyon. He is, and here again, like Paul Serene, he's Paul. There's all the Pauls there.
Yeah.
It's just the fake Pauls. All of this stuff keeps playing out over and over and over again. When are we going to get it? But people are getting it. In this day and age, years ago, they could have gotten away with it. We didn't have media. We didn't have electronics to be able to capture these things. Anyone that speaks out, I mean, here I am in the U.S., I don't know. I mean, whatever, I don't know what they want to do and what they want to turn this world into. We don't have to consent to any of this stuff.
No, and this is why this lifetime is an amazing lifetime, because they had pretty much, they had never really opposition for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They could play their, you pretty much organize their control system, their fake belief systems, and for thousands of years throughout history. And as you said, they can go back and forth in time, so it's very easy for them. And this is the lifetime where humans can raise their voice and clearly state their choice that this is their planet. Enough playing. They never had the right for a start to come here and take over this planet and humans. I mean, this planet is really, humans are in charge of this planet. Point. This is it. I don't care if someone is offended by what I'm saying here, because of all these New Age groups and all these supposedly amazing ascended beings they're going to come and save, and all these supposedly very positive ETs that are here helping the planet to free the planet. All this is bullshit. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, it's not this. There are some benevolent ones, but you have to be able to be willing to open your mind that some of the ones that claim to be benevolent, if you're being MyLabbed by them, they're not benevolent. And people need to start awakening to the fact that you don't trust everyone, and you learn this as a child. To not trust everyone. It's the same rules. ETs are ETs, and there are some that have ethics and some that don't, and you have to know the difference.
And I want to be clear here when I said, these fake saviors. I'm talking about all these beings that most of the time are very known to all these esoteric groups or New Age groups, or sometimes through lately all these whistleblowers out there. The real benevolent, aliens most of the time are not so loud in their agendas. They're in the background. They do things from a different level. They're helping, and they're helping those who are, willing to receive help. But those who are, it's kind of like, for those who are asking for help, they will have help. That's for sure. But the problem is that, like Roland was saying, one of the transmission, the problem is that you can remove all these beings, and we talk about, all these fake gods and all that. But the problem is that because of the belief systems, it can be through religions, different faiths, or sometimes New Age as well. People are so attached to these beings because they so need a savior, because they were pretty much programmed that they need to be saved, that they're not good enough, strong enough, that all these aliens supposedly are so much more advanced than them, and that's the lie right there. That's the real foundation of humans. Pretty much had given their power by deceptions and lies and illusions. And so there are obviously, yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we know there is a group.
No, not all of those beings are like. not all the pantheon are bad, but
No,
Dionysus
of
is
course.
definitely one of the bad ones. And he's typically, he doesn't really care as long as he gets his way. As long as he's able to go around and do his perverted stuff and weird stuff, then he's fine. And otherwise, then he does this, and that's why I'm a little fired up about it. But there's we don't want to go on just like tangents and talk about, but people need to know this. These are the type of things that we need to resolve if we want. Everything will have to trickle down. As it is above, so it is below. So as it is above, it's not just related to Christianity. It relates to everything. These are dimensional levels of control systems that have to be managed. We have man-made ones that were started by humans, but the humans had, enhanced themselves in ways. Those are the corporations. So now they have gone into dimensions and have created problems for us as well. There is hope. There is hope, but it starts with people being open to the truth of what's going on and not getting upset when you're trying to provide information that who is the cause. So people want to know what the problem is, and then if you don't give them the answer that they're expecting, they get upset. Don't get upset. Think about it. We're trying to provide the information and let everyone know. We want everyone to know so we can shift the energy. The energy is through a mass consciousness.
Yes.
I mean, right now, if whatever they were trying to do over in France, remember this is the hub of Europe. It's a very unique city. Paris is a unique city. It's created like a vortex, like a swirl. We're talking about some major energy that's being used here, and it will affect everyone. And the Yellow Vests try to open up in other countries. I mean, there was some footage of the Netherlands where they had a woman there, and I don't know if they were. I don't know, you know more about it than I do, Chris, but when there was a woman there with a child, she had a baby carriage, the police took her away from the baby carriage. They didn't take her in the carriage, they just had her leave the child there. Like, I was like, what is that?
Yeah, I know.
They arrested her and left the child behind. I've never.
Well, they said it was a test. It was just a practice. It was just the police practicing, arresting Yellow Vests. We know that's.
I know
true.
that, but what is that? Was a horrible statement. That shows something very inhumane, and this is the problem: is if it doesn't go well in France, what will happen, and how will it impact Europe and the rest of the world? And it's something that we have to think about. A lot of people are a little detached and like, oh, the French are just doing their own thing, and you don't feel as engaged. Maybe you don't have any connection to it, but as a human race, we should be connected, especially if you are not from a perspective. I know that there are people that have money, that are wealthy, that have compassion. I'm not saying that, but it is definitely a class issue here, and these people are just wanting to have enough food on the table every week for their families. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And they should not have to be paying such astronomical taxes so that they're gouging them to the point of desperation. And the other point is that when they protest, then they started to take more money away. Isn't that something that you were telling me, Chris?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right now, they just put 3 new laws, taxes that will tax at source, meaning when you receive, let's say, 1,200 euro, really you receive the gross amount is around like double, right? But you only receive half because they took already a big portion for different type of taxes, free university and all that needs to be paid, free, healthcare and all that. So now what they did, they put another law in place this last week. That was in the agenda of Macron, by the way. where they can take even more money to make sure that you don't, like here in the US, you pay your tax at the end of the year, what you still owe. Well, in France, they want to make sure that they can take the money right away. They don't have to wait at the end of the year. So people that already don't have a lot of money will even have less money. It has another tax on the retirees that only some of them work their whole life and barely make €800. He promised that he will never touch the salaries of retirees, and guess what? Boom, that's the first thing he did this year. So everything is done literally to put more oil on the fire. Now, these people that protest, they work during the day and then they go protest on the weekends because they still have to live. Even if before it was in December, it was by the 15th of the month, they don't have any food in the fridge anymore. Now, with all these taxes, in the month of January, by the 11th of the month, the average French people will not have enough money to buy food anymore. That's how, and I'm talking about two people working.
So that's the reason why you see in some of this video footage, you see middle-aged and older women out there protesting. There were teenage kids out there. These elderly people protesting. Why would they be doing that other than there's really a reason behind this?
There are even traders protesting. Traders of all the people, because they see what's going on. And yes, you have retirees that are protesting for their grandchildren. They just are afraid of what's going on. Most of the parents are very angry. They say, it's one thing if you would molest my child or be violent with my child, I would be violent. But here you are violent with our children by, taking the money out of pocket, and we cannot even feed them. That's also a violence against our children. So obviously that's also one of the reasons why they are so angry. And I don't see that stopping for now, that's for sure.
No.
Right now, they said that on Saturday, they're afraid of that most of the French people will do what we call a bank run, meaning they're going to start taking all the money of their account. And the problem is that in cash, they only have a fourth of the whole amount in the bank's account in France. So if they do that, they're afraid that will collapse completely the French economy and the European economy.
And why would they do that? Who would be insane enough to allow any of this stuff to happen? Why would you sabotage your own nation other than you don't care about it? That's the bottom line.
Well, it's the French citizen says, well, if we protest, they don't listen to us. Well, we're going to hurt them. Since we have no choice, we have no way out of it.
No, there's a chance they may never get their money. When you get to that point, you're in complete panic and survival mode. These people are in shock, and so they don't know. They're in desperation. Think about it. If what the people went through in California. I don't know. I mean, things are, houses are getting lasered down to the ground. People are getting hit in their cars, and their cars are getting destroyed while they're trying to drive away. What would you do? I mean, these are very, very serious issues. How would you react? But the people that are in control of it should be saying, we need to do something. This is a very serious issue. How are we going to resolve it? Instead of putting more heat on the fire, oppressing them even more, insulting them. This is someone that never loved their own people. That's why I said he's an empty hollow of a being, and has completely out of touch with reality, and is not able to manage. Obviously can't manage anything. He probably couldn't manage, the most simplest things. If he's commenting on the people having limited intelligence.
Well, there is a psychiatrist, very known psychiatrist, that did a whole research on Macron, and his result was pretty astonishing. He said that obviously he was acting like a teenager. He has a consciousness of a teenager, that it was like a kid that suddenly had a lot of power. Everybody was in love with him, literally until pretty much the last 6 months. He was unstoppable. Everybody was seeing him as the golden child, the hero, the guy that was untouchable. And what's happening in France for him, it's something he cannot even grasp. He doesn't understand. Suddenly he had so much resistance. This is something new for him. So it's acting like a kid doing a tantrum, literally.
Dionysus is losing power. That's what's happening. And when Dionysus loses power, he loses his charm. And he can't deceive the people anymore. And the facade comes off, and then you see the simplicity of the personality and the incapacity, incapable mode of being able to manage the masses as he did before, because he needs that power. And that's going to happen to a lot of nations. People aren't careful that the power is going to be pulled, but the people, we don't want this chaos happening everywhere.
No. Well, in Italy, obviously, they voted for the elected someone that's fighting the European system as well. So the European Central Bank, to punish the Italians that already have a debt, national debt that's unbelievable, did something so that now the prime minister of Italy has barely no choice. His country is going to be completely bankrupt. So they're really pushing any countries that are fighting the system, the European system. They are punishing any countries that try to have their sovereignty. I don't know where this is going, but definitely this is not the end of it. That's for sure. We're going to see the next few weeks.
I think that if they're trying to make demands like that on the European nations, I think at some point it will be a breaking point and a separation of this. And so there has to be, like I said, the approach has to be much more humane than the approach of a dictator. So you can't force or enforce anything upon others. You have to be reasonable. This is supposed to be civilized human beings, and it's anything but civilized at this point. We talk about people that are suffering and starving and going through different situations in the third world countries. But what about nations where they're deliberately doing that? I mean, it's one thing having natural disasters, and there's a desire for compassion, but there's absolutely no compassion here. And it's not going to be ignored, that's for sure.
And what the French people want is one very thing. It's what they call it, the RIC, which is the RIC, which is the Independent Referendum of Citizen, meaning they said, well, if there is a law that's voted by the parliament and they don't agree with it, then there is a referendum that's happening, and the people of the nation, the citizen, would vote and vote yes or no against that law. So they can have a control on what's happening in the government. Of course, that is definitely not what Macron government wants and the EU government wants. So they said, well, we just want to have control. We don't want to destroy the government. All we want is to make sure that if anything passed through the Congress or the Senate, that it's for the advantage of the people, and that they don't vote laws that will hurt eventually the economy and the pockets of the French people. But of course, that is the very thing that these governments are afraid of. So they will do everything they can to avoid it.
If a government, if a ruler, or anyone, any structural system would take a look at all of this, they would, find a suitable way to help the people get whatever they need and come up with some ideas to at least allow the people to feel like they're being heard, treated humanely, and not treated like animals. And I, of course, I love animals, and I can't imagine even animals being treated this way. So I think that the whole approach is just shocking. It's very low consciousness. It's less than humane. It's barbaric, and a horrible thing to witness, that some would do such acts against their own people. And I don't want to see that anywhere else. I don't think any of us want to see that anywhere else.
No, and this is why they say what's happening in France would definitely have a ripple effect in every country of Europe. So even Soros had a message a few days ago when he was pretty much warning the EU, the European community, that if they didn't control the situation quickly, that will be the end of the EU. Now, is that part of the plan or not? I don't know. There's different information on that, but that's definitely what's going on.
I think it's just obvious. Yeah, I mean, whether you like it or not, whether you're for it or not, I think it's inevitable that if it continues on to this degree, I think just even other nations can't help but feel anger about it, because no one's really that far removed from one another. I mean, everyone, pretty much can see the danger of something like that happening in their neighborhood, and no one wants to see that. And so we also see that the world is a much smaller place than we imagine, in the sense that everyone knows somebody in one of these locations. So people from France, people from Belgium, and some other areas where these things are starting to rise up. And what do we have it in? Was it Serbia also has yellow vests as well, right? So it's out there, it's going on, and
even in Taiwan, of all the countries, trying to fight against the Chinese government. That's a different story over there. Even the Taiwanese had yellow vest. I mean, it's spreading worldwide. This is what it's, and especially I want to talk also about something here is that, that video that's shown everywhere in the world of that guy that's boxing all these.
Oh, yeah. So the famous box, all right, so you call them RoboCops.
Yeah.
Which is, it doesn't seem right that they could easily hurt their own people like that. But let's go back. This guy is a famous boxer in France. And what is his name?
I did take note of his name.
His lineage is he's a French citizen, but he's a gypsy.
He's a gypsy, and the gypsy community in France pretty much, have a hard time. They never got accepted. They always got, rejected, as they're not even considered a citizen pretty much over there. It's pretty much everywhere in Europe. Mm-hmm. Now, what I didn't know, because I saw the image live literally when I was watching last week, and was like, whoa, what's going on here? So the story is that they went to the city hall and they said, okay, this is the parkour we want to have from this place to this place, and it was approved. And then they had to cross a bridge, and when they arrived on the bridge, well, they had all these police officers there. They were, like I said, the RoboCops blocking them. So the people were very angry, because they said, wait a minute, we do things by the rule here, and here you're stopping our march. This is not acceptable. So the people trying to push, and I'm talking about women, men, grandfathers, regular people. So the police start to be extremely, extremely violent. And what they did, they blocked them on the bridge, and then they blocked them on the right, on the left. So they were completely surrounded. And I'm talking about, 15, 20,000 people. And once they were blocked, they had nowhere to go. They start to send all these new version of tear gas that is even more powerful than before, and they were trapped. So they start to get a little bit upset, of course. And on the bridge, what happened is that they start to be extremely violent, these police officers, and they start to beat up a woman very hardly. So that guy was there in every protest for the last 8 weeks, never got violent. But when he saw what was happening to that woman, for no reason, it just blew a fuse. And he jumped into the bridge, and he started to go, alone, bare hands, against all these officers, super, super protected with shields and helmet and all that. And he started to fight them with his fist. And of course, it became, a video that was shown everywhere in the world. But of course, they didn't explain why he did that. Now, of course, there was a cop on the floor, and they started to beat the crap out of him when he was on the floor. But the real story is that that guy was very upset of the way they were treating that woman. So the woman came after and said, you know, that guy saved my life because they were beating me so hard on the head, in the mouth with their, you know, their sticks, and they were, you know, kicking me everywhere. And she said she had a lungs with cancer and a breast cancer, and they were kicking there so hard that she could literally die. So he saved her life. Of course, what happened is that in the media, they portrayed him as the most, of course, they choose their video. They don't show that they were trapping the people and the people got tear gassed like left and right and rubber bullet in the face and this and that. They never show that. They only show that guy. The problem is he's a gypsy. Now, the whole gypsy community was, you know, are known to be afraid of nothing. They're very, very, very wild when it gets to protecting their own people. And right now on Facebook for the last few days, since that guy, that boxer was, you know, made a little video explaining his the reason why he got so violent, he apologized. He said, you know, I'm not a violent person. I have 2 kids myself, but what I saw, I just couldn't take it anymore. And he says that the next day in the morning, he would surrender himself to the police. The problem is that the government had decided to go extremely violent, hardcore on anyone touching a police guy. So that guy's going to have years and years of jail. So the gypsies right now are sending videos everywhere between each other that normally fight each other, between clans, but suddenly they united. And I'm not talking just in France. I'm talking France, Germany, Holland, Belgium, everywhere. And they decided that they will march this Saturday in Paris as well, saying, well, if it's easy for you, you know, the government and through the police to hit on the regular people, try with us. So I don't know what's going on here, but that's taking a different turn right now. So I don't know if they're going to show up or not, but obviously they were pretty upset. That's the whole story here.
Yeah. So there are those that are trying to defend, and I think there's no one that they won't harm. And you're seeing that these people are just trying to protest. I don't see them lashing out. And then there was one woman, they were dragging her by the hair. I mean, they're just getting a license to be aggressive.
License to kill.
Now,
it's a license to kill, by the way. A woman on that bridge was with her hand up, like she says, hey, I'm surrendering, and they are pretty much instructed the police to shoot their rubber bullets in the face, right? So sadly, they shoot her in the face and they killed her, a mother of 2 kids, a single mother. So of course they never show that, they never talk about that, they only talk about the violence on the police. Also, 2 days ago, an ex-minister of France, Luc Ferry, it's a guy that was a teacher philosopher that became minister in one of the previous former government, who came on a radio show and told very clearly, and I can send the video, but I think there is one in English I can send eventually, when he says clearly, well, you know, that he was so upset of the scene of that boxer kicking that policeman that at this point he says when the police officer sees one of their own being kicked like that by a violent and, you know, very violent aggressive protester, it's time for them to use their guns. Now in France, it's not like in the US, they never use their guns. They're not allowed to use their guns. But if the some of these politicians are talking like that, it's getting to another level right now.
Yeah.
So they really allowed any type of violence possible with the excuse that the yellow vests are violent. They just forget to explain why they're violent, why they trap them and beat the crap out of them. And I mean, it's hard to watch these videos, tell you the truth sometimes.
I mean, I know that France has gone through a lot. I went and visited France last year, and because of all of the all the different things that are going on in this world, you know, terrorists and so forth, I just remember walking around the city and then people are carrying machine guns, and not the people, the police. I mean, it's just like, what in the world's happening?
Yeah.
Of you know,
Well, there was a state of emergency
yeah, that
declared because of
there's a lot.
terrorism, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, I understand this. It's a lot of tension. There's lots and lots of tension out there, and people are trying to sort this out, and it's already kind of being exacerbated and pressed and pushed to a limit. And so how else are they going to respond? We have way too much tension. There's too much unnecessary violence, political games that are being played, and then all of a sudden, you know, this whole thing of the land grab, money taking, trying to shift the money in a way that it usually will end up going into the wrong hands, where the elite still retain the money. I don't want to see this anymore. I think we've all had it. I think we're at a point where it's reached a limit of unacceptability. It's been that way for a long time. We just expect and we will demand that we have a normal way of living, that we should all be treated humanely, and humans should not be treated that way who just want to protest. There's something seriously wrong in our world, and that has to be reconciled. And we need to learn something from this. It's very important. And that begins with all of us. We can observe it now while it's happening somewhere else, unfortunately. For those of you that are there, I have deep compassion for you. And you're trying to make a living, and then you're seeing these horrible things. Some of these people, if they get out of this alive, they're losing eyesight. They're having serious damage to their mouth. They're going to have a very, very difficult time. Most of them will probably end up being disabled. And that's what the price of freedom.
Sadly, it reminds me that song from the movie Les Miserables. It's called The Song of the Angry Man. I mean, if you look at the lyrics, it's pretty much portraying really well where we're at right now. In that song, they clearly said that even if some people will die, but it doesn't matter, because at this point it's about freedom, sovereignty, and looking forward for a brand new world where humans can be free and sovereign again. At least the citizen of France, but I take it on a bigger scale here. I really hope that things can be solved in a way that doesn't imply that type of violence, but it's already there. So I really hope that we can turn this into something way more peaceful transition. I know that obviously things needs to be done on a higher level. As you say, all these power structure on other dimensions, that's what, is taken care of right now. And if this is removed, of course, it will, how we say it, down step, pretty much down here too. We're going to see the transformation right here. So this is why I'm very positive. I know that will be definitely, there is a chance here for humanity to reclaim their freedom and sovereignty. And yes, it seems to be violent right now, but things can turn, and shift in a very positive way. So I just want to make sure that people don't feel like that what we do here today, this report is to bring negative frequencies, just to explain exactly the facts.
Well, our compassion goes out to the people of France today, and they have tremendous amounts of courage. And I respect the fact that they knew enough that they didn't deserve this. They didn't deserve to be treated this way. And despite the negativity and even being ignored in this situation, and all of Europe standing around waiting and watching and not knowing really what to do. from, this horrible misconduct and negligence and malicious attributes coming from Macron. We really send out a lot of compassion and some assistance, and ask that all of you will do that so that we can have a more humane world. It's time for things to shift. Let's not wait any further. Let's not wait until another nation gets affected. And let's see what we can do to assist energetically to these people and help them see through this. Help them find another way to express their, without getting harmed, and also ask for intervention of some sort, and expectation of the EU, who is putting pressure and obviously guiding Macron and supporting him in his efforts. And someone should allow some type of intelligent conversation to occur to stop this madness. They are equally responsible for what's going on, and they need to step up and do something about it before it gets any worse. So,
well, the truth about their true intention will be revealed eventually. That's a fact. I mean, you cannot hide that for too long. Now, if any other countries would know what French people have been able to be aware of, I'm pretty sure that it would spread very fast. But it seems that some other countries are still little. We'll talk about the Netherlands. They tried that same protest, but very quickly they were pretty much dismantled. Shut down. And it seems that it's simply because, like we're talking earlier, it seems that they're not too uncomfortable right now. They don't see the danger that's happening right now. So they're still comfortable. They still have a good living, I guess. They're not upset yet. But they don't have also the tax system that they have in France. Now, France became the highest tax country in the world. People need to understand that. It's a regular person is taxed already 50 to 60% of his salary. And that's just, I'm talking about a few years ago. Now with these new laws in place, I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm not even talking about self-employed people or businesses. They can be taxed up to 90% sometimes. So imagine.
Yeah, that's so crazy that you work hard and you return with nothing. That's slavery.
Yeah. And it's never enough. It's always more and more and more. Now, what I want to say also in the Yellow Vest, what was for me absolutely unbelievable is you see all these people, marching next to each other, realizing that there is no separation between them. You can see the camaraderie, the solidarity, the love they have for each other. They realize, wait a minute, you're my brother, you're my sister. We are going through the same. And there is no division between races. You have people, from all backgrounds in France. I'm talking about, Middle East or a lot of Moroccans, Algerians, French, even Jewish people in the street. I mean, it's like a brotherhood. And it doesn't matter your faith or your color. And this is why I think it's very encouraging here. It's like they got awakened to the fact that there is no division, really. All that has been pretty much manufactured over time so people are afraid of each other. And suddenly all these barriers are lifted and they really fight for each other. I think this is, and not just for the French people, I think they really are aware that all these barriers and divisions are an illusion. It's pure deception, part of the Dionysus, inorganic control system.
Right, they're learning, and that's the whole key. Though those that get it will thrive. They're going to thrive. Those that don't are going to be plagued with their own nightmares of these events, and ultimately not find you can have all the money in the world but not have a home, and the home is in the heart, and if you don't feel what other people feel, then you're going to live a very, very ice-cold existence. And so, I don't know, that there's not a whole lot more that we can say about this other than I'd like to hear everyone's comments underneath. Please listen to the videos, watch the videos. You'll be surprised. And this is footage that you're not going to get on the news. And listen to and watch it right away. I don't know if they're going to pull it at all. But
Yeah,
anyhow,
they might not like that.
yeah, well, we're not gonna give them any ideas or anything like that. But I just want to say, Chris, thank you so much. Thanks for giving us an update. I knew it a couple days ago we were supposed to do this, and we'll continue doing it until there's some freedom there. Like I said, it's not freedom just for the French people; it's freedom for everyone.
Yes.
All of us that work very hard and just trying to make a living and want the best for our families. That's all. I don't think I think that, this planet is for us. This is our planet, and we don't need any intrusions, and we don't need anyone telling us what we can and cannot have. We don't need any taskmasters. We don't need any control systems.
Nope.
We can think on our own. And we know how to manage ourselves very well. And so I think that the governments should be grateful. We're willing to do things, whatever we can, to work hard and take care of ourselves, but don't take unnecessarily, and be kind and be humane and have a conscience, and then maybe the things will turn out well. Otherwise, it's not just going to be the common people that suffer. Everyone will suffer. You can't separate yourself from the planet without feeling it. So, with that said,
freedom or freedom?
Freedom or freedom?
Freedom or freedom, and I'm talking about divine freedom, divine sovereignty, And the time is now, and as I said, I remind. Oh, sorry for that. My intention is really that we can intend for the highest potential. Again, I'm going to repeat myself, but it's very important. The highest potential for the French people, European people, and all people in the world on this planet. That's it.
We use the Andronicus symbol for that, holding on to the highest potential for humanity, sending out special love, kindness, and safety, very rapid healing for those that were injured, and alleviate it. Ask that all the pain be released, and some of the sorrow as well, and to be protected in ways that are unexplained. And I ask that they have a voice, that others will continue listening. Thank you also to the people of the UK that put themselves out there. George Galloway and Joseph Watson, fantastic job. Thanks for keeping people informed. And thank you too, Chris.
My pleasure. I was thinking, do you think we can put, would be a good idea to put the symbols in the links maybe in the comments? Because there is one specifically that also can be helpful to remove all obstructions to freedom, sovereignty, and all that. So I think that might be useful for those who want to use it.
Yeah, and there's also one there that supports those, reminds extraterrestrials that we are sovereign beings and they don't have a right to interfere with our experience here.
I love that. Yes. Yeah. All right. But thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you so much for your time. And then we're going to stay in touch and see how things are evolving.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Have a beautiful night.
Keep us informed. You also.
Bye-bye.
And bye, everyone. Thank you for listening. Please do make some comments in the section, and also remind you to take a look at some of these videos. Goodbye for now.
You have been listening to Androna Talks Radio. Join us on YouTube channel Jessica Ariel Morocco and visit her website at www.jessicaaarielmorocco.com. readingsbyariel.com.